Good evening and welcome to another edition of the 89U Musicview. I'm Evan Davies.
And I'm Susie Albright.
And tonight our guests are two members of the dB's. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell us just who you are and what you do.
Okay, I'm Peter Holzapfel. I play guitar and sing and some keyboards.
My name's Chris Stamey and I play guitar with the group.
And you each write songs.
Mm-hmm.
And you each sing.
Right.
How long have you guys been together? As the four of you, for this incarnation.
We were playing as a trio, and Peter came up, I guess, in November '77.
October or November, something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
How did you get into the band, Peter? How'd you get involved with them?
Well, we are all from Winston-Salem, North Carolina originally, and I've played with almost everybody in the band in various incarnations of other groups, so they were looking for a keyboard player, and I was looking for a way out of the situation, and I came up with an audition.
Way out of what situation?
Living in a town that I didn't really particularly want to be in, and so I shuttled myself up here and auditioned, and they took me.
Out of the kindness of their hearts, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I've said this before, but not exactly over the air, that Steve Stills wrote this great press release when they got Neil Young about how they were looking for basically just like a pro slick guitarist who didn't write songs or sing or anything, just to augment Crosby, Stills and Nash. So they got Neil Young, and it's sort of the same thing with Peter. We were looking for somebody just play a little keyboard.
All right.
Unfortunately, Peter does all these other things wonderfully.
The new Neil Young.
Now you two kind of have when you write the songs, you each tend to have somewhat of a different approach, it seems. I mean, Peter, you seem to have more of a straightforward attitude as opposed to Chris, who kind of tends to go out on tangents a little bit, if I'm not overstepping myself by saying this. Do you think that's a true statement, or what?
Well, we've both grown up with a lot of the same musical influences, a lot of the same groups we've listened to over the years.
Like who?
Well, I suppose most notably The Move, somewhere along the line, and obviously the Beatles, and things like that. I don't know. I don't know that my writing is particularly straightforward, but I don't take as many chances, I think, as Chris does, and Chris's chances usually succeed. So,
do you think your chances usually succeed, Chris?
Well, I think the whole thing is sort of fallacious, because I think if you have two people writing songs, you can. I think Peter's may seem marginally less weird only by comparison, because they're pretty weird. And before this, the only other main songwriting partnership I was in for a long time was with a guy named Mitch Easter, and he plays guitar just great, and he was writing songs that are pretty hard to play on guitar, although they were, the unity. The composite of the song was pretty simple to hear, but all the parts were moving all over the place. So my songs were always considered sort of the simple ones, I think. And that kind of stuff we don't think about, really.
You and Mitch were in a band called Sneakers?
We were in a group called Rittenhouse Square, and then Mitch joined Sneakers sort of after it was going for a while. He was in the second version of Sneakers.
And also Will Rigby was in Sneakers for a little while.
For the duration.
Yeah. Oh, I see. And he's your current drummer.
Yeah. No furloughs.
For the time being.
And
watch your step.
And Gene Holder on bass, just so we get everybody's name out on the air, so they're not sitting at home listening and saying, "Why don't you talk about us?"
Yeah, well, they're great. It's hard to believe that they would condescend to play with two bozos like us. So wonderful.
Now, since you
don't mention them again.
Since the four of you got together I guess it's been about a year and a half ago now, I guess, you've started to work on a record, which is going to be called Stands for Decibels. Just how long have you been working on the record anyway?
June or May or something of last year. What was that? 79.
Yeah. It's taken quite a while, but it's a real composite effort. I think it doesn't sound like a pasted together thing or anything like that just because it's taken this long. It did, it seemed like it's taken an eternity, but it'll be well worth the wait.
Okay, well, luckily we do have a tape here of some of the songs from the record, and right now we're going to hear Cycles Per Second. And that was Cycles Per Second from the forthcoming dB's album, Stands for Decibels, which should be out soon on the Shake record label at least, if nothing else.
You mentioned
That would be like
the flip side of Black and White,
$400,000.
which is Soul Kiss. The flip side of Black and White.
I didn't actually, but you did.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
okay. I thought you did mention it. But anyway, and
a
it's not
reference.
going to be included on the album, is it? Is Soul Kiss going to be on the new album?
It says it won't on the record, but I guess anything could happen, but probably not.
I thought
The tapes are currently not in our possession due to a screw up on the West Coast, the one with California.
And
So it'd be hard to put it on the record until those fellows give us back what is rightfully ours. But I'm sure they will, because they're real nice, and one just got out of the hospital.
We won't even ask why he was in the hospital in the first place.
We sent our boys.
Soul Kiss does seem to have like a real spacey, psychedelic kind of feel to it. Have you had any influence from that old era of psychedelic rock? Did you get that?
That's mainly British drug blues is sort of what we all grew up on. And
Some of us more drugs than others, but
he's not meaning me.
Others more blue than others, I suppose.
Yeah, I was the blue one. But that's, a lot of people like Lloyd and Wainwright may talk about John Lee Hooker or something. We all grew up on the Cream, and on Blue Cheer. And what else? East West.
yeah, Paul Butterfield, things like
Uh-huh.
that. John Mayall.
And, none of the Sergeant Pepper garbage. And,
Yeah. So those people have had an influence kind of on some of your stuff.
yeah.
We tend to, like, when we do cover material, we like to try to delve into that area too, and we, it's not so much anticipating a trend or anything like that, since everybody is now doing all their Motown and Stax
Yeah.
stuff and all like that. But it's the stuff we feel very comfortable with, and in a lot of cases, it's stuff we've played in other bands before, which is
Uh-huh.
a good sidelight about that.
Okay, well, we're going to hear another song
Band
that's
hates.
going to be on your new album. This is called Big Brown Eyes. Okay, that was Big Brown Eyes from the forthcoming album Stands for Decibels, a song that is probably familiar to most people who have seen the dB's live. It is part of your repertoire. Are most of the songs on the album songs that you've done live before, or is there a good mix?
Let me see. What?
There are a couple of
The list is
songs.
going.
A couple of songs we have attempted live, and
We did Moving in Your Sleep.
we did
once.
"Moving in Your Sleep" once out in New Jersey.
We
which-
got halfway or something, didn't we?
No, it was at the very end of a set once, and
I got halfway.
you'll be pleased to hear it's on this compendium we're doing right now for NYU station, and we did it at Maxwell's in New Jersey, a nice little club in Hoboken, and it was at the end of the set, and we've been having equipment problems and everything like that, and everybody had a bit much beer, and so and the audience just sort of filtered out at that point. It wasn't the stunning climax it was supposed to be.
And
But-
we did Espionage a long time ago. We haven't been doing it recently.
There's nothing on the record we couldn't do live.
Uh-huh.
We're having a little trouble with Dynamite, but besides that, most everything we play. Yeah.
When you do live shows, I know we were talking before, lots of times you do songs that you don't, each show tends to be a different set. Why do you do this?
There's so much material. It really is that way. I mean, we like to keep the stuff fresh, and we also like to, when you play in New York, it's different from like playing in North Carolina, where you'd have to bang out 3 sets or something like that. And if you've got original material, you tend to get a backlog of it too, in a lot of ways. And like we resurrect old songs and stuff of ours, and we just like to rotate the material so everything gets its fair share at bat.
Uh-huh. Do you consider yourselves a New York band or a North Carolina band at this point? I mean, even though you're all living in New York now and playing mostly in New York.
How about a New Carolina band?
I think it's like Bill Ham used to say when the Yellow Pages would come on stage, they would have this drum solo. I mean, the snare starts going, and then their manager off the side would say, "Hello, here they are, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of the world." the Yellow Pages, of course, they didn't go so far, but they had this great single called "Vanilla on My Mind." They were this Texas group that got money from the Bell System because they were called the Yellow Pages to
Oh,
go out and
brother.
tour, because they thought that if they used the name, more people would use the Yellow Pages. But they were a 3-piece power trio from someplace in Texas that were so good. And
How far away from New York, or I mean, aside from North Carolina, where you've played often, I guess, where else have you played in this area, or on the West Coast for that matter? Have you ever played on the West Coast?
Yeah.
No.
Played Minneapolis once.
Oh, that's right.
Once
the
upon a time.
the M80
Right.
festival.
The big New Wave
Yeah.
festival. Last, what was it, November or something like that.
How was that?
Well, it's like Jimmy was saying.
I've heard Will say many
Let's
times.
go see the Yankees.
A hush falls over the DBs.
Well, it was really fun up until we played. Like, it was, there was nothing but, like, sort of
Good vibes, man.
artists.
Peace, love, and new
Yeah,
wave.
and a lot of people did, like, Richard Lloyd did a great set. A lot
Gary
of people
Valentine did
good-
a great set.
Yeah, Gary Valentine was like Hendrix at Monterey or something. It was
Oh.
just wild. And Judy Nolan did a real good set. Yeah, everybody was good. Devo worked up this new little thing that was real funny. We were bad.
Really?
There was
we
a
weren't too
real
good. But, let's not talk about that.
Real high camaraderie, at least. That was the good thing. I think everybody felt they were out there for...
Everybody felt they were stuck in this hellhole.
Yeah, everybody was stuck in the Midwest.
Because it was a mud, it was this great
Yeah.
big track
Oh,
meet thing.
like rock
and-
against mud.
Yeah.
Rock into mud. Mud's another one of my favorite
Livestock
bands.
or mud stuff.
A little plug-in for Mud. We're gonna get another plug for the DBs here. We'll take another break and listen to Dynamite. And that was Dynamite from the DBs.
You guys do seem to have a real great diversity in your music, as far as like we were talking about before, playing different sets, different nights, and must have been, I don't know, maybe was it hard for you to choose what was going to go on the album, especially having all these thoughts about having a particular cut that maybe will really hit and get a lot of good airplay? Was it hard for you to pick out of all the songs that you do?
No.
Was it?
There's some
That was a great question.
Mostly real obvious choices as far as the repertoire goes. I mean, if we were doing the record now, we'd probably put different stuff on it, but just because of the amount of time elapsed and the songs written, etc.
Okay, well, we're gonna hear another song that's going to be on the album. This is "Moving in Your Sleep" from the DBs. And that was "Moving in Your Sleep" from the forthcoming, soon-to-be-released, if not already, DBs album. Stands for decibels.
It's technically stands ... for decibels, although the rest of the group doesn't know this. But because it's to imply supportive garments more. It's more like
I see.
Supportive garments.
things that hold up decibels.
You
That's-
mean like girdles for the DVs? And
Have you had so far with the two singles you've released, the Black and White most recently, and before that, the I Thought You Wanted to Know with If and When on the back? How much success have you had in getting the radio stations around here to play them, or radio stations anywhere for that matter?
yeah,
NYU has been very
PIX,
good.
WLIR, W's, BCN. We're all playing the new one. KSAN. I don't really have the listing, but
Yeah.
pretty much it was a couple. Added a couple of weeks in whatchamacallit, Record World, not in Billboard.
Uh-huh.
But, it did all right. It's not available in the stores really. We just pressed up 3,000 or something of them, so there's no reason to push it beyond that. It was more like a wedding announcement for the album or something.
It's on the way.
Yeah.
Do you have
congratulations,
I guess
on the
We
LP.
had
On your new
a
baby.
pregnant pause before it came out.
I guess you must have some kind of a small. You must have some organization as far as getting the records out, and is it hard with a small independent label? I mean, I guess it
We
must
don't
be.
do that. A guy named Ellen Betrock and his partner Gary Kenton handle stuff like that, and they're involved with any merchandising and production, but they're mainly a production company. They did a record with a guy Richard Hell, and they're doing other projects.
I was reading in a New York Rocker, and I forget who the writer was, but he said that Hulsapple and Stamey, like you guys as songwriters, seem to be a split between oddball rock and roll or something and pure pop. What do you think about that? Is that right on the button?
All lies.
While we were talking about lies, what about Planet? We were going to say.
Oh, that's
I was
right.
going to go into
We were
an
going to mention that.
obnoxious diatribe.
Well, we just want to mention quickly then, because we are running out of time here.
Uh-oh.
Soul Kiss did appear on an anthology that just came out recently on Planet Records, and
A song called Soul Kiss.
a song called Soul Kiss. However, not the Soul
Um,
Kiss you had intended to come out, I guess.
Due to a last-minute screw up on Planet's part, you know, which could happen, unfortunately, to anybody at any time, but it chose the dB's. The tape on the Planet record is a totally wrong and misrepresentative version of the song Soul Kiss, which was mainly a sound and not a song to begin with, which makes it worse that they made such a bad mistake. They put a very early version on, which has these Low Temptations voices. They wiped out the highs. They cut off the beginning. They did a number of things wrong, and all our safeguards were violated in that they did not send us test pressings. They did not send us a tape. All these things they promised to do. You know, it's great that they want to do an album like Sharp Cuts, help everybody out and make the Cretones look real good and everything, but didn't help us too much. You know, I wish it had all worked great and then we would have been real happy, but I don't like having a horrible version of something I like, having 20,000 copies of them, and I'm powerless to do anything about it except for them to say, we're really sorry.
Okay, so you're absolving all responsibility of the wrong version of Soul Kiss.
Yeah, we did like 10 different mixes of it. We worked a long time, and the very first one we ran off real quickly just to see what we had. That's the one they put on the record.
Okay. Well, we are out of time here. Our guests tonight on the 89U Musicview have been Peter Holzapfel and Chris Stamey of the dB's, and the show has been engineered by Greg All.
Gene and Will.
And can't forget Gene and Will. Engineered by Greg All, produced by Tammy Gershoni. Assistant producer is Naomi Riegelson. And I'm Evan Davies.
And I'm Susie Albright.
And we'd like to thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.